5 things if you can do in old age, you are a rare gem. Aging is a journey, one marked by both challenges and profound beauty. Reaching the age of 70 or 80 is a significant milestone, a testament to resilience, wisdom, and the life you've built. Yet, beyond simply living to this age, the quality of how you live speaks volumes about your inner strength and vitality. Today we will explore 5 remarkable qualities that, if you still possess them, make you a rare gem in this world. Each of these reflects not only your personal journey, but also the deep wisdom of Buddhist philosophy and its teachings on mindful living. Let's begin this journey of reflection and inspiration. If you enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Quiet Wisdom, for more insights rooted in Buddhist philosophy. While maintaining physical health and independence. In the Buddhist perspective, the body is seen as a precious vessel, a tool that allows us to engage with the world, practice mindfulness, and contribute meaningfully to the lives of others. At 70 or 80, the ability to care for yourself and remain physically independent is no small feat. It's a reflection of the years you've spent nurturing your body, showing it respect through mindful habits and daily self-care. Each morning that you rise from bed unassisted, every meal you prepare, and every task you handle reflects resilience and dedication to preserving the vitality of this vessel. This is not just about surviving, it's about thriving in the later years of life. Your independence allows you to participate fully in the world, enjoying simple pleasures like a morning walk or preparing a favorite meal. In Buddhist practice, such independence also brings peace to those around you. By caring for yourself, you free your loved ones from unnecessary worry, allowing them to engage with you in moments of joy and connection rather than burden. As Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "To take care of our body, we must go back to it and breathe in deeply, bringing our mind home to our body." Every act of care you extend to your body, stretching, walking, or nourishing it with wholesome foods, becomes an expression of mindfulness. In the teachings of Buddhism, the body is likened to a raft that helps us cross the river of life. While it is temporary and will eventually be left behind, its purpose is profound. To maintain its strength and vitality is to honor the life force within us. Each breath you take is an opportunity to connect with your body and express gratitude for its resilience. When you walk mindfully, placing one foot in front of the other with intention, you transform a simple act into a celebration of life. Maintaining physical health also involves understanding the interconnectedness of body and mind. The Buddha taught that the mind and body influence each other deeply. A healthy body supports a clear mind, just as a peaceful mind encourages physical well-being. Practices like yoga, tai chi, or even gentle stretching can harmonize these elements, fostering both inner and outer balance. As we age, it's natural for the body to experience changes, yet these changes need not be a source of despair. Instead, they can be reminders of life's impermanence, a core Buddhist principle. Embracing these changes with acceptance rather than resistance allows us to age gracefully. This doesn't mean ignoring the body's needs, but rather responding to them with compassion. When you rest when tired, nourish yourself with wholesome foods, or seek medical care when needed, you practice kindness toward yourself. Physical health and independence also create opportunities for continued engagement with the world. Whether it's tending to a garden, volunteering in the community, or simply enjoying a quiet moment in nature, your ability to move and act connects you to the present moment. These experiences, no matter how small, bring a sense of purpose and fulfillment that enriches your later years. Moreover, caring for your body can inspire others. Younger generations often look up to their elders for guidance and wisdom. When they see you prioritizing your health, staying active, and embracing life's changes with courage, you become a living example of resilience and mindfulness. Your actions silently teach them the importance of self-care and the value of cherishing the body as a sacred vessel. Maintaining physical health is not just about physical exercises or routines. It is a spiritual practice. It is a way of acknowledging the gift of life and expressing gratitude for the journey that brought you here. Each step you take and each moment of independence you enjoy is a tribute to the strength within you, a strength cultivated through years of mindful living. Finally, remember that maintaining physical health is a dynamic process. It evolves with time, and the key is to listen to your body's changing needs. Be patient with yourself and celebrate even the smallest victories. Whether it's taking a short walk, trying a new activity, or simply enjoying a moment of stillness, each act of care contributes to your well-being and honors the life you've been given. 2. Keeping a sharp and clear mind. The Buddhist teachings often emphasize the importance of mindfulness and mental clarity. A sharp mind at 70 or 80 is not simply about memory or intellect. It is a testament to a life lived with curiosity and engagement. When your mind remains clear, you possess a rare freedom, the ability to navigate the complexities of life with wisdom and discernment. This clarity protects you from deception, allowing you to make sound decisions and guard the fruits of your life's work. As Buddha taught, the mind is everything, what you think you become. A sharp and clear mind is like a well-tended garden. Just as a garden requires regular care to thrive, so does the mind. Every thought we nurture, every idea we entertain, becomes a seed planted in this garden. Buddhist philosophy teaches us that mindfulness is the tool that allows us to observe and tend to these mental seeds. Through mindfulness, we recognize which thoughts bring peace and clarity and which lead to confusion or distress. By carefully choosing to cultivate wholesome thoughts and letting go of harmful ones, we ensure that our mental garden flourishes. Cultivating a sharp mind involves practices that nourish and challenge your intellect. Reading books that inspire, solving puzzles that intrigue, or engaging in thoughtful conversations are acts of self-respect. These activities honor the wisdom accumulated through decades of experience and remind us that learning and growth are lifelong journeys. As the Buddha said, an idea that is developed and put into action is more important than an idea that exists only as an idea. The act of learning keeps the mind agile, but it is equally important to practice stillness. In our modern world where distractions abound, the ability to sit quietly and reflect is a rare and valuable skill. Meditation, a cornerstone of Buddhist practice, is a powerful tool for cultivating mental clarity. By sitting in silence and observing your thoughts without judgment, you train your mind to become a calm and steady observer of life's ever-changing nature. This practice not only sharpens the mind, but also brings a profound sense of inner peace. A clear mind also allows you to remain deeply present with your loved ones. Your stories, insights, and reflections become treasures that bridge generations, offering your family a wellspring of guidance and perspective. Each memory you share, each lesson you pass on, enriches the lives of those around you and solidifies your legacy of wisdom. Your ability to recall the past with clarity and offer thoughtful advice becomes a source of comfort and strength for those who seek your guidance. However, maintaining mental sharpness is not solely an individual endeavor. It is deeply interconnected with the relationships we nurture and the communities we engage with. Conversations with friends and family, participation in community activities, or simply sharing a laugh with a neighbor keep the mind engaged and connected to the world. These interactions remind us of the Buddhist principle of interdependence, that our lives are deeply intertwined with the lives of others. To preserve this clarity, Buddhist philosophy encourages us to simplify our lives. Simplicity does not mean giving up comfort or pleasure. It means letting go of unnecessary distractions and focusing on what truly matters. By living simply, we create mental space for reflection and wisdom to flourish. As the Buddha taught, a disciplined mind brings happiness. Simplifying your daily routines, decluttering your physical space, and prioritizing meaningful activities can help maintain the mental clarity that is so valuable in later years. The clarity of your mind is not only a gift to yourself, but also a source of inspiration for those around you. When younger generations see you living with mental sharpness and mindfulness, they are reminded of the importance of tending to their own minds. Your ability to engage in meaningful conversations, offer wise counsel, and navigate life's challenges with grace becomes a living example of the value of mental clarity. Finally, let us not forget the role of gratitude in maintaining a clear mind. Gratitude is a practice that shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have. It is a way of training the mind to recognize the abundance in our lives, no matter how small. Each day, take a moment to reflect on the blessings you have experienced. This practice not only brings joy but also reinforces mental clarity by focusing the mind on the positive aspects of life. In conclusion, keeping a sharp and clear mind is a lifelong endeavor that requires intentional effort and mindful practices. By cultivating mindfulness, engaging in meaningful activities, simplifying your life, and embracing gratitude, you can preserve the clarity of your mind well into your later years. This clarity is not just a personal achievement, it is a gift to the world, a reflection of the wisdom and resilience you have cultivated throughout your life. 3. Achieving financial stability. In Buddhist teachings, wealth is not measured by the accumulation of material possessions, but by the freedom and security it brings. Reaching 70 or 80 with financial stability is a profound accomplishment, reflecting decades of discipline, thoughtful planning, and resilience in the face of life's uncertainties. Financial stability at this stage allows you to live with peace of mind, free from the anxieties of meeting basic needs. It grants you the freedom to focus on what truly matters: time with loved ones, moments of gratitude, and the pursuit of meaningful experiences. As Buddha taught, contentment is the greatest wealth. To achieve financial stability is to cultivate a relationship with money that is both mindful and intentional. Buddhist teachings often remind us of the middle path, encouraging balance in all things. In financial matters, this means neither clinging to wealth nor living in fear of its absence. Instead, it is about understanding money as a tool to support a meaningful life, not as a measure of self-worth or success. Financial stability also provides the foundation for generosity, a cornerstone of Buddhist practice. The act of giving, or dana, is seen as a powerful way to cultivate joy and diminish attachment. Whether it's offering financial support to a loved one, donating to a cause you care deeply about, or sharing your resources with those in need, acts of generosity create ripples of kindness that extend far beyond the immediate act. These gestures not only help others, but also reinforce a sense of abundance and gratitude within yourself. Living with financial stability also means having the freedom to make choices that align with your values. You might choose to spend your resources on experiences that bring you closer to loved ones, such as family gatherings or trips that create lasting memories. Alternatively, you may invest in personal growth, whether through education, hobbies, or spiritual practices. These choices reflect a life lived with intention and purpose, guided by the understanding that true wealth lies in connection, learning, and inner peace. For many, financial stability in later life is also a way to honor the sacrifices and hard work of the past. It is the culmination of years spent planning, saving, and navigating challenges. This sense of accomplishment can be deeply fulfilling, offering a quiet confidence that sustains you in your golden years. As you reflect on the journey that brought you here, you may find gratitude for the lessons learned and the resilience that carried you through. Beyond personal comfort, financial stability is a profound gift to your family. It allows your children and grandchildren to pursue their own lives without the added burden of worrying about your needs. In this way, your financial independence becomes an expression of love and care, freeing your loved ones to focus on their aspirations and challenges. This act of self-reliance also serves as a powerful example, teaching younger generations the value of planning, discipline, and mindfulness in financial matters. The Buddhist perspective on wealth also emphasizes simplicity. Living simply does not mean deprivation. Rather, it is about finding contentment with less and appreciating the richness of non-material experiences. A simple life frees the mind from unnecessary worries and distractions, allowing you to focus on what truly matters. By choosing simplicity, you create space for deeper connections, personal growth, and spiritual fulfillment. In this context, financial stability is not just about having enough resources to meet your needs. It is about creating a life of balance and intention, where your relationship with money supports your well-being rather than controls it. This balance allows you to approach life with a sense of freedom and peace, knowing that you have what you need to live with dignity and purpose. Moreover, financial stability enables you to embrace the present moment fully. Without the constant worry of making ends meet, you can dedicate your energy to nurturing relationships, exploring passions, and practicing mindfulness. This sense of security creates a fertile ground for joy and gratitude to flourish, enriching every aspect of your life. As you continue to navigate the complexities of aging, remember that financial stability is not an end in itself, but a means to support a life of meaning and fulfillment. It is a tool that allows you to focus on the things that truly matter: love, connection, growth, and the quiet contentment of a life well lived. Finally, achieving financial stability is a testament to your resilience and wisdom. It reflects the choices you have made over decades, guided by foresight and a commitment to living with integrity. This accomplishment is not just a personal victory. It is a legacy that inspires others to approach their own lives with mindfulness and intention. In the words of the Buddha, just as a candle cannot burn without fire, men cannot live without a spiritual life. Similarly, financial stability is the flame that illuminates the path to a life of purpose, allowing you to shine brightly and share your light with the world. 4. Embracing life with an open heart. One of the most beautiful qualities to carry into your later years is an open heart. In Buddhist philosophy, the heart is the seat of compassion, love, and acceptance. To live with an open heart at 70 or 80 is to embody a profound wisdom, one that sees the beauty in life's imperfections and finds peace in its fleeting nature. An open heart is a courageous heart. It forgives past hurts, releases grudges, and embraces the present moment with gratitude. This perspective allows you to find joy in the simplest things: a kind word, a sunny day, or the laughter of loved ones. It reflects the Buddhist teaching that letting go gives us freedom, and freedom is the only condition for happiness. Living with an open heart means understanding that life, in all its complexities, is an opportunity for growth. This growth is not measured by accomplishments or possessions, but by your capacity to love and accept. When you approach life with compassion, you open yourself to deeper connections with those around you. Compassion, as taught by the Buddha, begins with self-compassion, accepting your imperfections and treating yourself with the same kindness you extend to others. To forgive past hurts and release grudges is one of the most liberating acts you can undertake. Holding on to resentment is like carrying a heavy stone that weighs down your spirit. By letting go, you free yourself from this burden and create space for peace and joy. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or condoning harm. It means choosing not to let the pain define you. It is an act of strength, a testament to your resilience and capacity for grace. An open heart also allows you to embrace life's setbacks with equanimity. Challenges, losses, and disappointments are inevitable, but they do not have to harden your spirit. Instead, they can deepen your capacity for empathy and understanding. Each difficulty becomes an opportunity to practice patience and acceptance, cultivating the wisdom that comes from facing life with courage. This openness becomes a beacon for others, illuminating the path toward genuine and fulfilling relationships. When you interact with an open heart, you create an environment of trust and warmth. Your presence becomes a source of comfort for family, friends, and even strangers. In this way, you bridge generations, fostering connections that transcend age and experience. The practice of gratitude is central to living with an open heart. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is lacking to what is abundant. By appreciating the small blessings of daily life, a bird's song, a shared meal, or a moment of quiet reflection, you cultivate a sense of contentment and joy. This gratitude is not passive. It is an active acknowledgement of life's gifts, no matter how small or fleeting. An open heart also invites you to live authentically. As you release societal expectations and embrace your true self, you find a profound sense of peace. Authenticity means honoring your values, speaking your truth with kindness, and allowing others to see you as you are. This honesty fosters deeper connections and strengthens the bonds of love and friendship. In Buddhist teachings, an open heart is closely tied to the concept of metta, or loving kindness. Practicing metta involves extending goodwill and compassion to all beings, including yourself. It is a meditation on interconnectedness, a recognition that your happiness is intertwined with the happiness of others. By cultivating loving kindness, you create ripples of positivity that touch everyone you encounter. A heart open to life's joys and challenges also recognizes the impermanence of all things. This understanding brings a sense of liberation, allowing you to savor the present moment without clinging to it. Impermanence teaches us to cherish what we have while it lasts, knowing that change is the nature of life. This perspective transforms loss into a deeper appreciation for what was and what is. As you navigate the later years of life, an open heart becomes a source of light and inspiration. It reminds you that aging is not a diminishing, but an unfolding, a chance to deepen your capacity for love, wisdom, and connection. By embracing life with an open heart, you leave a legacy of kindness and compassion that will continue to resonate long after you are gone. In the words of the Buddha, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal rule. By choosing love over resentment, gratitude over discontent, and openness over fear, you embody the essence of a life well lived. 5. Cultivating hobbies and a spirit of playfulness. In Buddhist practice, joy is seen as a vital component of a balanced life. To maintain a playful spirit and engage in hobbies that bring you happiness at 70 or 80 is to celebrate the resilience of the human spirit. These activities, whether gardening, painting, or playing with grandchildren, are expressions of vitality and creativity. Hobbies connect you to the present moment, allowing you to immerse yourself fully in life's pleasures. They are not merely pastimes, they are profound expressions of your inner vitality. When you tend to a garden, for example, you are cultivating not just plants, but also patience, care, and a connection to the cycles of nature. When you paint or draw, you are giving form to your emotions, memories, and dreams, creating something beautiful that reflects your unique perspective on life. A spirit of playfulness complements these pursuits, keeping your heart light and your mind engaged. Playfulness is a form of mindfulness in action. It invites you to be fully present, to laugh, and to let go of rigid expectations. The Buddha taught that joy is a path to enlightenment, for it opens the heart and allows wisdom to flow. By embracing joy, you honor the essence of life itself. Engaging in hobbies also brings a sense of purpose and achievement, no matter how small the endeavor may seem. Each task completed, each skill learned, is a reminder that growth and creativity are not limited by age. This perspective transforms aging into an opportunity for renewal, rather than a time of decline. Whether you are learning a new instrument, experimenting with recipes, or exploring photography, you are actively contributing to your own happiness and well-being. Moreover, hobbies foster connection. Participating in group activities or sharing your creations with others builds a sense of community. These interactions enrich your life and provide a sense of belonging. When you join a book club, attend a knitting circle, or share a meal with friends, you are nurturing bonds that sustain and uplift you. These moments of connection echo the Buddhist teaching of interdependence, that our lives are deeply intertwined and that joy shared is joy multiplied. Playfulness, too, has a profound impact on mental and emotional resilience. It helps you navigate life's challenges with a lighter heart, reminding you not to take yourself too seriously. A playful spirit fosters curiosity and a willingness to explore, even in the face of uncertainty. It allows you to approach life's difficulties with a sense of humor and adaptability, qualities that are essential for maintaining balance and peace. In Buddhist philosophy, the concept of lila, or divine play, reflects the idea that life itself is a form of cosmic play. By embracing this perspective, you can view your hobbies and moments of joy as sacred acts that celebrate existence. This mindset transforms even the simplest activities into opportunities for spiritual growth and fulfillment. As you engage in hobbies and cultivate playfulness, you also set an example for younger generations. Your zest for life and willingness to try new things inspire those around you to embrace their own passions. Your actions show that age is not a barrier to creativity or joy, but a gateway to deeper exploration and appreciation of life's wonders. Finally, hobbies and playfulness provide a sense of continuity and legacy. The garden you plant today will bloom for seasons to come. The stories you write or the art you create will carry your essence forward. These acts of creation are gifts to the world, reflecting the beauty and wisdom you have cultivated throughout your life. In conclusion, Cultivating hobbies and a spirit of playfulness is a testament to the resilience and vitality of the human spirit. These pursuits connect you to the present moment, foster meaningful relationships, and bring joy and fulfillment to your days. They remind you that life's beauty does not fade with age, but transforms, offering new opportunities for discovery and delight. By embracing your passions and maintaining a playful heart, you celebrate the sacredness of life itself. You become a living example of the Buddhist teaching. Live joyfully, even amid difficulties. In doing so, you inspire others to find their own sources of joy and to approach life with curiosity, enthusiasm, and love. If you are 70 or 80 years old and possess these 5 qualities, physical vitality, mental clarity, financial stability, an open heart, and a playful spirit, you are indeed a rare gem. You embody the essence of a life deeply lived, marked by resilience, grace, and a commitment to finding meaning in each moment. These attributes are not random. They are cultivated through decades of mindful choices. By embracing love over resentment, curiosity over complacency, and connection over isolation, you create a life that is not only long, but rich in quality. As you continue forward, cherish these gifts. They are not only blessings for yourself, but also for everyone fortunate enough to know you. In embodying these qualities, you become a beacon of hope, a reminder that life's beauty deepens with age. May your days be filled with peace, joy, and the quiet wisdom that comes from living authentically. If this video resonates with you, share your reflections in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us on this journey of wisdom and mindful living.